Have you noticed something? When we're younger, gathering 30 family members together feels normal. But once everyone grows up, getting 30 people together for just one weekend becomes almost impossible. Last weekend, somehow we did it, and it reminded me of something far more valuable than money. Hello everybody, welcome back to the second half playbook. I am JY. Last weekend, I spent 2 days in Johor, Malaysia. Not at a luxury resort, not at a 5-star hotel, but at a floating kelong in the middle of the sea. And what happened there became one of the most meaningful weekends I've had in a long time. The trip itself was actually quite simple. A group of us decided to spend a weekend together across multi-generations of family. Not just my immediate family. My parents were there. My in-laws were there. My brothers-in-laws and sisters-in-law were there. Their families were there. Extended family members joined as well. There were even a few close family friends. Altogether, I estimate there were around 30 people. 30 people, 3 generations, 1 destination. And honestly, in today's world, that is becoming increasingly rare. Everyone has different schedules, different commitment, different responsibilities. Some are working, some are raising children, some are caring for aging parents. Some are balancing all 3 at the same time. Finding a date that works for everyone is often harder than organizing the trip itself, which is why I already felt grateful before the journey even began. The trip started early on Saturday morning. What surprised us was the traffic. That weekend happened to be election day in Johor. Many people expected heavy congestion at both Singapore and Malaysian customs. Naturally, we prepared ourselves mentally for long queues. But surprisingly, the traffic was extremely light. Singapore customs was smooth. Malaysia customs was smooth. Before we knew it, we were already across the border. Sometimes, life gives us pleasant surprises when we least expect them. Along the way, we stopped for brunch. That turned out to be a good decision because after arriving at the kelong, the next meal was only afternoon tea. After filling our stomachs, we continued towards the jetty. From there, we boarded a small ferry-like speedboat. The ride itself was quite short, probably only a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so, but it felt symbolic, almost like leaving behind the busy space of daily life and entering a slower world, a quieter world, a simpler world. For those unfamiliar with a kelong, it is essentially a floating structure built over the sea. Some kelongs have been converted into holiday accommodations. People stay overnight directly above the water. The one we visited was simple but comfortable. Each family had its own room. Nothing luxurious, nothing extravagant, just practical and sufficient. Sometimes, sufficient is all we really need. The facilities were surprisingly comprehensive. There was karaoke, table tennis, darts, mahjong, card games, board games, fishing, and for those who prefer something quieter, simply sitting on the deck with a cup of coffee, looking out at the sea, or reading a book while enjoying the sea breeze. What I noticed was that nobody seemed rushed. Nobody was checking the clock constantly. Nobody was chasing the next task. People were simply present, and that felt refreshing. Of course, the karaoke was fun, the games were enjoyable, the fishing kept some people occupied, but if I'm honest, those weren't the highlights. The real highlight was the conversations. the catching up, the laughter, the storytelling, the little moments between meals. Because as we grow older, we begin to realize something. The most meaningful memories are rarely created by the location itself. They are created by the people around us. Dinner that evening was a large steamboat feast. The table was filled with food: tofu, fish balls, corn, fish, prawns, crabs, satay, otah, and plenty more. The food just kept coming. Everyone ate well. Nobody left hungry. In fact, most of us left the table feeling very full. But the biggest surprise of the evening was still to come. Suddenly, 2 birthday cakes appeared. It turned out there was a celebration planned for the July babies. Everyone gathered together. The birthday song was sung. Photos were taken, candles were blown, cakes were shared, and for a few moments, it felt like a giant family reunion. Simple, warm, heartfelt. The kind of moment that probably won't make headlines, but the kind of moment that remains in our hearts. Later that evening, I found myself reflecting. Many of us spent decades building our careers, paying mortgages, saving for retirement, looking after our families, managing responsibilities, and before we knew it, another year passes. Then another. What this weekend reminded me was that time is moving for everyone. Our parents are getting older. We are getting older. The younger generation is growing up quickly. And opportunities to gather like this don't come around as often as they once did. That is why weekends like this become increasingly precious. Not because of where we went, but because of who was there. The next morning started with breakfast. After breakfast, everyone slowed down and enjoyed the final few hours. Some took photos. Some chatted a little longer. Others simply enjoyed the sea breeze and the sea view before leaving. By around 10:30 in the morning, it was time to check out. We boarded the boat back to the jetty. From there, we began the journey back towards Singapore. Some families bought bread and packed food home. Some went for a lunch meal. Others headed straight for home. The traffic returning was slightly heavier than the day before, but overall, it was still very manageable. Soon enough, we were back in Singapore, dropping off the different families one by one. And just like that, the weekend came to an end. You know, when we were younger, we often focus on collecting achievements. As we grow older, we begin collecting moments. And moments become memories. This trip wasn't expensive. It wasn't luxurious. It wasn't extraordinary. Yet it reminded me of something important. Some of life's greatest blessings are actually very simple. A meal together, a conversation, a laugh, a birthday cake, a weekend away, and the opportunity to spend time with people we care about while we still can. For me, that was the real value of this trip. Not the accommodation, not the karaoke, not the fishing, not even the food. The real value was 30 people coming together and creating memories that none of us can buy. As we enter the second half of life, perhaps these are the investments that matter most. Not investments that grow our wealth, but investments that grow our relationships. Because one day, those relationships may become the richest part of our lives. Thank you for watching. If you have ever had a family gathering or family trip that became a special memory, share it in the comments below. I would love to hear your story. Until next time, take care, stay healthy, cherish your loved ones, and I'll see you in the next episode of the second half playbook.